Okay, we are recording. Welcome to the Tri-Valley Career Center's Employer Spotlight interview. I'm Amy Miller and I work with the Tri-Valley Career Center, and the purpose of this interview is to provide job seekers a snapshot of your company, to share some of the job opportunities and hiring practices, and ultimately to help employers and job seekers connect. And we're happy today to have Christy Annis, a talent acquisition recruiter from Gillig in Livermore, with us today. Welcome, Christy.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. Please introduce yourself and tell us about Gillig and what your company does and manufactures.
Okay, so my name is Christy Annis. I have been with Gillig for almost 2 years, and I recruit for professional HQ positions within our organization. We are about 850 employees. Started out in San Francisco in 1890, manufacturing horse-drawn buggies, and we morphed into school buses and moved our operations to Hayward, California at that point. Had a great reputation and ended up landing on building mass transit heavy duty buses. Had such a backlog, however, in our Hayward facility, we could not keep up with the popularity of our product that we moved over to Livermore about 4 years ago now. I like to give people a little context around that. When we were in Hayward, we were able to turn out 8 buses a week. When we moved to Livermore, we were able to turn out 8 buses a day. So I think it's always good to understand just what the huge difference was in one facility to the other. It's very state of the art. We're very proud of the facility, and HQ is attached right to the production plant. So that's just a little bit of history about Gillig. We are privately held, which was very important to me when I was looking for a job. I've worked for the big Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies, and you're always beholden to shareholders and board of directors and people that maybe don't really have a finger on the pulse of the company. So I really like working for a company that is holding on to family values and yet still privately held.
Great, thank you. Well, can you tell us about some of the positions that you're looking to fill and maybe give a brief description of each, including the qualifications and the background needed?
Yeah, I think to go through all of them, we would probably be here for about an hour. So what I would recommend is that you go to www.gillig.com, and there is a list of them on there. Primarily what we have the biggest need for right now are degreed engineers. So both in mechanical and electrical. And those do require that you have a degree in engineering, preferably mechanical and electrical engineering. And it says it all on the actual individual job description that is posted, and it's automotive. So you get to come, and I think what's always really appealing for engineers that I talk to as I interview is that they get to touch and feel, and they get to see their design actually come to life. And they don't have to travel more than a few steps versus getting on an airplane and going maybe out of the country to actually see that design come to life. So it's really fun if you like getting your hands dirty and you like climbing under the bus as it's propped up there and looking at what you've created and being a part of creating something that is definitely keeping our earth cleaner. Gillig is an awesome place to work. We have people that came here straight out of college and they said, I'm going to work here as an engineer until I'm bored. And they've been here 20, 25, 30 years. They never left because they've never gotten bored. You get to wear a lot of hats, you get to do a lot, and your talent is recognized, and you get to grow here if that's the desire that you have. We also have a CAD role for a supervisor open. That's a big role, and you do have to have certain specs for that one. So again, I would encourage you to go to the website and look at that. We have a couple opening up in our, we have one in quality, which has got a little bit different flair to it. It's a weird name. It's an e-card analyst. So we're implementing a whole new system for quality control. Whereas right now we have paper that actually follows the bus as it goes down. And if there's anything that needs to be attended to, whereas we're going to go to an e-card, which will be pretty much, it makes it an instant system from what I understand. So anybody can pull it up from a laptop and see, okay, that's what's going on with this bus. And so we no longer have that paper that has to follow the bus. Let's see, what else do we have open right now? We have oh gosh, I'm trying to remember because there's several of them. We're opening up a couple of industrial engineering positions as we speak. So those should be hitting the website. And then we always have things, mechanic roles open to actually, a lot of them are second shift, some of them are first shift, and our second shift starts at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. First shift starts at 5 a.m., where you're coming in and you're actually helping to maintain and make sure that the tooling and everything that needs to take place to keep that production line going is in working order, and maintaining things like air conditioning and things like that, working with on those types of projects. So other than that, I would say definitely our career side is constantly ever changing. We've been hiring, we never stopped, even through COVID. We're a
Okay,
growing organization.
that's great. And I think you kind of answered this, but maybe just to elaborate a little bit more, are you hiring for remote work or is it all on site? And if it's on site, is everybody housed in Livermore?
So that's a loaded question, because we do have people that work across the country, but those roles are, none of those are open right now. Those would be sales, those would be field services, maintaining the buses. We also have a parts department that sometimes has openings, and that still sits in Hayward, California. As far as being on site versus not on site, I think that's a great question. We never had a remote culture here at Gillig. That people need to be together and we need to work together. We're collaborative, we're team, we're all just, putting our hands in there and getting stuff done. And so until COVID hit, everybody sat on site in Livermore, unless their position had to be in another state or in another area. Right now, we're following all the COVID rules. We have not had any outbreaks. We're proud to say that we've been very, very careful. The entire plant is cleaned electrostatically. I believe it's twice a week. And then we've got somebody that roams around corporate cleaning, a couple somebodies, I believe, cleaning all the time. We've got plexiglass, masks, social distancing, all the rules. We're taking temperatures. That being said, most of our positions as an engineer, they're being done remote, but there is some on-site that you have to come to. When COVID, if and when restrictions are lifted on COVID, we fully expect to go back to a fully on-site culture. It just works best for us, and it always has. But currently that's not possible, and we wanted to keep people working. We didn't want to shut the business down. So again, I think one of the challenges that I have is that a lot of people are kind of afraid about coming in. But I wouldn't be. We're very, very careful, and you cannot get to learn our product without actually coming into the corporate office, going out into production. And you have to know that if you're going to design for it, because our buses are all custom. So I think that's really important. And a couple of roles I'm going to circle back that I neglected to tell you about because I wasn't thinking clear. We have a couple open in our finance team. We have a finance manager. We have an a tax manager that's open. And we also have a marketing comms role open that requires a very unique skill set. You have to have done marketing, in other words, creating things for trade shows, which are not going on right now, but hopefully they will be at someday, doing press releases, doing social media, as well as doing the internal communications piece. And you get a lot of autonomy with this role. You just have to have good executive presence, really stellar writing skills, like attention to detail. And we also have a product strategy role open. So as a manager, which is a big role, that'll require some travel eventually, but that's really understanding the voice of the customer around all of our new products that are coming out. So, but
Okay.
we're following all the rules.
Okay, yeah, and that was really my next question was how are you managing with COVID and how does that work for a new employee that's just coming into the company? So you kind of answered that. I don't know if there was anything more that you wanted to say about that.
No, I mean, you have to wear a mask when you're in the room with someone. If you have your own office, you can take your mask off as long as your door is closed. But yeah, I think we have been extremely, extremely careful. And just a plug for the culture, I know we'll get to that, but when shelter in place hit for Gillig, everybody from the corporate office was sent home on the 16th with either their laptops or they were taking, and not everybody had one, or they were taking their desktops. Kudos to our IT department who got everybody up and running very, very quickly, but that left production out there. They couldn't take their buses home with them. But what Gillig made the decision to do with our ownership in Chicago is to pay those employees full pay for the first 2 weeks, full pay, even though they were sitting at home. We didn't know what the government was going to do, what kind of assistance was going to be there. And then we ended up extending that to a 5-week time period. And at that point, people were laid off, not laid off, though we didn't lay them off. We furloughed them. When you furlough somebody, you can continue to pay their benefits. So it just speaks to the character and the integrity, I think, of this company and how amazing it is.
Yeah, definitely. That's great to hear. And we are going to get to that question. I don't think it's next on my list, but we are going to get to that and expand on it a little bit more. My next question was about training and opportunities for growth and professional development. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, so, part of that, you have to take your own ownership and you have to ask for it. We are a small company, relatively speaking. So I know I have gotten to attend some things around recruiting and people management, but I had to drive it. But as soon as I asked, they're like, absolutely. So we have a lot of people that will mentor you as you go, especially in our engineering and our production teams, our finance teams. Everybody here is willing to help anyone in any way, shape, or form that they need help. It wouldn't necessarily be structured into where, we're going to put you in this class and that class. But if there's something that you feel you need to know and you need to learn, you just talk to your manager and get it approved. And I think most of the time people are very willing to put you into the things that you need for your own personal growth that will benefit the organization. Once you've been here for a year, we also have a benefit that is around tuition reimbursement. So, you have to get that approved, and then there's usually a time period that you have to stay if we're paying that, but that's based on a yearly basis, so calendar year, and it's very generous. So
That's great. That's a good incentive. And you kind of already covered that if there's room for growth in the organization. It seems like you commented that people do grow in that organization. People tend to stay a long time. I don't know if you
yes.
would add anything else to that.
I just think, if titles are important to your growth, then this may not be the place for you if you are looking for your title to grow. But if you're looking for just skills and knowledge to grow, Gillig is an awesome place for that. We're probably the most well-funded, most process-driven together startup that's 130 years old. So always innovative, collaborative, always looking to the future.
Great. And so that goes back to the culture of the company. And when I looked at your website, I noticed that the first core value is family. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I can. And I can sometimes tend to get a little teary-eyed over this. Gillig is a big family. They care for people deeply. There are a lot of companies out there that will claim to have a family atmosphere and have all these different benefits of work-life balance. And, it's great. We love each other. We're a family. We're a community. I have never seen a company, and I've been around for a bit. I've been in a lot of corporate companies in my career, or around them anyways. I've never seen anybody that talks the talk, that walks the talk quite like Gillig does. It is family first here. It is family all the way from the top down, which is, I believe, one of the reasons that Gillig has been incredibly successful as a company and survived from making horse-drawn buggies to mass transit buses. Sometimes I think about that, and it just doesn't really seem like that should have worked like that. But yet here we are 130, actually almost 131 years later. There are a lot of family people that work here. We have some people that work here today that are actually second, third, and fourth generation. So in other words, the grandfather worked here, and then his son came to work here, and then his son, and now the son has his children. I think one of his children is working here. And so we've got 3 generations of that family that actually work here currently. So family matters. If there's something that's personal, you talk to your manager, and they're always going to be willing to accommodate to the best. I mean, we still have a business to run, but they just care so deeply about people. And I think it's evidenced by when we bring a contractor in and we hire temporary help, and how those folks, if you know anything about the temporary industry, most of the time when you go in as a contractor or a temp employee into an organization, you kind of feel like a stepchild. You feel like you don't quite belong. People here will report back to the agencies that we are like a family to them, that we treated them like family. They felt, just totally, just enveloped in the culture of who Gillig is, to where even at Christmas time, which we just passed, we give away a gift to each employee, and we include some of our suppliers that are on site are included in that. And it's a big gift. It's not just a little gift. And the contractors, they're all included in that. We don't exclude anyone in those kinds of things.
Great. That's great. Did you want to talk about any other aspects of your core values, or I just picked that one because it just really resonated and kind of hit me, you know?
I just think, with family, and when you have a strong family, I think one of the core values of any family is integrity and honesty. And that is how we do business. We are known for our integrity. We are known for our quality, which is why we continue, even in a market like COVID, continue to take market share away from our competitors. And I think once I get people in the door at Gillig to come in and do an interview, I get very rarely do I get people that say, oh, I could never work there. That culture is just not for me. Now, they may not always accept our job offer, but there's a lot of things that go into consideration for a job. But you get somebody through the door here and they really get it. It really hits you when you come. And one way, I'll give a plug for our career site. If you go onto our career site, there is a video. It's right down in the very middle of the page for the career site. And I highly, highly encourage you to watch that video. You'll get a feel for who our CEO is. You'll get a feel for the people and just the mutual deep respect that people have, not only for our CEO, but for who he is and the respect that he has for us as employees and as people.
Great. Okay. And you kind of touched on the last two questions I'm going to combine about the pay structure and the benefits and paid trainings and sick leave and vacation. Can you just talk a little bit about those things?
Yeah. So, again, we're very unique. We pay 100% of the premiums for you for your medical, dental, and vision. Currently, we pay 100% of that for not just you, but also for any dependents that you have. And what sets us apart, there are other companies that will pay it for their employees, but we're in the top 1% of the nation that actually pays it for your dependents as well. And so what that means is that when you get a paycheck, there's no premium deduction taken out of that. So, and as far as other benefits, we've got 9 paid holidays. You start accruing vacation from day 1, and our vacation is separate from our sick leave. Sick leave, you get 3 days as soon as you hit 90 days, but vacation, you're accruing it right away, and you'll accrue it 12 days a year. Pay is extremely fair. We're doing all the research that we know we're at market value for what we know what should be paid to somebody. Now, candidates don't always agree. We don't pay cost of living here in California. We pay fair wages, and there's a big difference in that. So, and I would say, if you get promoted, there's lots of room for growth within your own teams. And again, not necessarily title, but nobody's disappointed with the money that they get paid at Gillig. I will tell you that. We have something too that I should call out that's very unique to Gillig, and it's not a guaranteed benefit that happens every year. It didn't happen last year due to COVID. It may not happen this year either, but it's called a summer hire program. And the summer hire program is for college bound or college age students that are in college of employees that work for the organization. So for instance, my son got to come and do it. He was between his sophomore and junior year. He got to come and spend the entire summer driving into work with mom. So there was a really big benefit for me in that. And he worked in our field services department doing some data. They were transferring some data from one system to another. But he worked for the entire summer and left here with enough money to pay his entire room and board for the whole year at college. It's only open to employees, children, college, and they have to be enrolled in college or going to college the following year. But it's a really incredible program because it certainly saved me a lot of money and him a lot of stress being in college and having to work. He walked out of here with $11,000 in his pocket.
And some great skills, I'm sure, too.
Yeah. And he got a really good job now that he's doing in college because of that. And they told him it was because of what he had done at Gillig.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm glad you plugged that. Now, if someone's watching this and they can't attend on the 22nd, I think you already said, but maybe you can just repeat it again. What's the best way to find the job openings and what's the best way to apply?
So the best way to find them is to go on to gillig.com, www.gillig.com, and apply online. and, you know, I have no problem with you reaching out to me via email, and the email is my first name dot my last name at gillig.com, and asking, just letting me know that you've applied. What I do ask is that you apply first before you reach out to me, or don't just send me your resume and say, hey, what do I fit? That's your job. You figure that out, and then we'll figure out if you're right. And we'll figure that out together. But, you know, if you are watching this, you see it, you want to apply, and you want to reach out to me directly, I can spell my first and last name if I need to. I'm not sure if that appears
Yep.
somewhere, but it's okay. So it's C as in cat, HRISTIE dot my last name, which is A as in apple, N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy, I, S as in Sam, at gillig.com. And that's Christy.Annis@gillig.com.
And I put it in the chat just in case that shows up in our recording too. I think it does.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
And then finally, is there anything that I didn't ask you today that you would like to share?
I would just say that I think that this is probably one of the best kept secrets in the East Bay, is this company. Lived in California in the East Bay my entire life, rode Gillig buses and never really thought about them. I think my story of how I came is kind of funny. I was working for Gap Inc. in the city, and I was sitting behind my desk one day working away on my computer, and I heard this bing, and I looked at LinkedIn. Somebody was tagging me on LinkedIn, and I got a message from the recruiter asking if I would be interested in talking to her. She said, you have great skills. I have a great role. And I thought, well, what the heck? I liked her style. So I made an appointment, but it's always important to know who the company is. And I know that as a recruiter. So I tapped the button for Gillig, and I remember chuckling to myself and thinking, as if I would leave the world of high fashion to go work for a bus company. Best move I ever made was coming over to this company. They are truly, truly one of the rarest companies that I've ever seen. And I get to talk about a lot of companies because of what I do. And you'd be hard pressed to find somebody like us.
That's a great endorsement. And so for those of you that are watching, Christy and Gillig will be represented at a coffee break event that we're having, which is really just a very casual meet and greet with some employers on January 22nd. And we will be posting that information on the Tri-Valley Career Center website. Thank you so much, Christy. This was great. And we look forward to seeing you on the 22nd.
Thanks. I look forward to that.